Hello everyone, my name is Artem Deysun. In this course we will make such an axe in Blender. This will be low poly axe and it will be ready to import into any game engine. We will go through such steps as modeling, sculpting, retopology, UV mapping, baking and texturing. Texturing will be in Substance Painter. It can be done in Blender, but in Substance Painter it will be much faster and more convenient. The empty project already has some objects that we do not need, and we can delete them. On the bottom right, the case that I press and the mouse button will be shown, so you can look here and see what I am pressing. I will also try to comment all my actions. With the A key I select all objects, with X key I call up the menu for deletion and click delete. We will also need two plugins that need to be enabled in the settings. Go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons. In the search write Rigify, turn it on, check the box. Then we find Extra Objects. There is Curve Extra Objects and we need Mesh Extra Objects. But you can include both, you may need them someday. Turn on, close it. The very first stage in creating any models is blocking. Blocking is the creation of a common shape using simple objects. It can be cube, cylinder, sphere. And also to adjust the size of the axe to the size of the person, we can create a human skeleton. Go to the menu Add, Armature, Human Meta Rig. We can create a skeleton. To get closer to it, I press the dot on the numpad. With the middle mouse button, I can rotate around object. His arms are spread at his sides. I want to push them down. To do this, select the skeleton and switch to Pose mode. This is done on the top left. Now we can select any bone, turn on symmetry and use the R key to rotate the bones like this. Symmetry allows you to edit two sides at the same time. Now I'm going to turn off symmetry, take only right hand. I'm going to turn the camera like this and raise hand forward. I press the R key and then rotate hand with the mouse. I think that's enough. Let's go to object mode. And let's use the 3K on the numpad to switch to the side view. Shift and middle mouse, I move the screen. I select the skeleton and press G, which means grab, that is move. And I move it so that his hand is in the center of the coordinates. It also needs to be aligned along the x-axis. I press the G, X case, and that's it. Now all objects that we will create will appear in the hand of our character. Then I will switch again to the side view, numpad 3, and turn on Annotate tool. If you don't have this panel, press the T key. I choose Annotate and now I can draw. It is not necessary to choose this tool to draw. We may have another instrument active. And holding down DK, we can draw. And with D held down and the right mouse button, you can erase what you have drawn. I approach the hand and try to draw the silhouette of our axe. Here is the axe blade, and here is the handle. You can draw your own shape, but take into account the ratio of the size of the man and the axe, so that is harmonious. I will do a little less here. You can also upload a picture with an axe to the project and use the reference instead of drawing a sketch. Let's try through the menu Add, Image, Reference. I choose a picture and upload it. It is loaded very large and sometimes can be turned like this. To align, press Alt-R and it aligns as if it were lying on the ground. We need to rotate it. Now let's rotate it along the X-axis. I press R, X and rotate it with the mouse. On the top left we see the angle at which it turns. If you hold down Ctrl, the rotation will go by 5 degrees. Make sure that the top left is 90 degrees and release the mouse. Also rotate along the vertical axis Z. R, Z and holding Ctrl rotate 90 degrees. On the top left you can see 90. Now let's move the picture aside. G, X, move along the X axis. Let's turn on the side view and we see that our axe is looking in the other direction. Let's turn it around. Press R, Z, print the numbers 180, enter. And we have a picture turned 180 degrees. Side view, numpad 3, S to scale, and reduce the thumbnail size or relative to human size. Let me delete the sketch. Hold down D and delete everything I drew. We can also turn the reference as we want. Then we can remove the skeleton and work only with the reference. In order not to accidentally select the image when we model, we can enable selection in the filters and disable the cursor in the reference. Now we will not be able to select him and he will not interfere with us. But there are still some settings in the reference. Here, choose Back. When we select Back, we see a grid that goes along over the viewport. If we set Default, the grid will not be visible here. You can also turn on the opacity and change the transparency of the picture. For simplicity of modeling, I decide to rotate the picture so that the handle is approximately vertical. First we will create rough shapes and see how it looks. Shift A, I will create a plane. It is created lying on the floor, so we need to rotate it. R, Y, and holding Ctrl, I rotate 90 degrees. On the top left, I look at what the degree. I switch to the side view. You can turn on transparency, Alt-Z, or this button on the top right. Go to the Edit mode with the tab K, or here on the top left, there are many modes. We need Edit mode. Now we can select vertices if we have vertex mode enabled here. If it is switched to edges, we can select edges. If it's switched to polygons, select polygons. You can also quickly switch between these modes with the numbers 1, 2, 3. I take one vertex, G, move it here to the edge of our axe on the reference. I take another pick move it to the other edge. This peak is here, and this one is here. Now we can cut in half by pressing Ctrl R and hover over an edge. When we click for the first time, then we can choose where we want to cut, or if you want to leave it exactly in the center, then right click and the division remains in the center. Ctrl R, select this edge, click and we can choose where to divide it, but I want it in the center, so I release the right mouse button. Now we will be able to adjust our sketch in more detail. Look, I'll move this top here and this one here. If we select a vertex, press X and select verticals. That is delete vertex. We will delete the vertex and the entire polygon that was attached to it. Now we are trying to repeat form, but do not go into details. This is the still blocking stage and we are making rough shapes. With the tab key I exit edit mode. Numpad period is centered on our object. Look, it's right in the center. We can add the solidify modifier to it. Go to the modifier settings, add modifier, solidify. And it has added thickness. We add to it the thickness of approximately what our axe will be. We can enter the dimensions right here. 0.04 meters is 4 centimeters. Maybe it's too much. Let's try 3 centimeters. But if we turn on top view, we will see that our axe is not centered. How to make it centered? We can apply our solidify. Here there is an arrow. Apply. Now open the menu Object, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. And this orange dot, which is responsible for the center of the object, it jumped to the center of the object. Let's open the side menu with the N key, the Item tab. Here we see the coordinates of our object. On the x-axis, it has moved by 15 centimeters. We can write here 0, and it will be exactly centered. Alt-Z turns off transparency. By the way, this stylized view is enabled here with this cavity checkbox. In solid mode, we open this menu, turn on cavity, both mode, and now we have a view in which the ribs are clearly visible. Now let's create a handle. Shift-A, Mesh, Cylinder. We unscrew the camera back. The cylinder is created with dimensions of 2 and 2 meters. If we open the side menu, we will see the dimensions here. And also immediately after object is created, you can open the object settings on the bottom left. Select the number of vertices. Let's choose 64. Select radius and the height, but we can change these dimensions later. Let's go into the edit mode with tab. And let's do the scaling S. If we press S, the object is scaled simultaneously along all axes. But if you want to narrow the cylinder in the thickness and leave the height as it is, I press S, Shift Z. That is block the Z axis. That is, we edit by X and Y, and that remains unchanged. From the side view, we can roughly estimate the thickness of the handle. Alt-Z to make it visible. With the G key, we can move the verticals that are selected. To select all, press A. I move like this. Now S, Z, and now we reduce the size only along the Z-axis. To make such nice bevels, I will select only the top verticals. Be sure to do it in the transparency mode. If you do it in the normal mode, then not all verticals will be selected, but only those in the front. So turn on transparency, select the top verticals, and turn on the shear tool. There are handles for which you can grab and make a bevel. We do the same with the lower ones. Now I'll switch to the regular selection tool. To bend the handle, I press Ctrl R, move the mouse here, and such a line appears here. But if you rotate the mouse wheel, there will be more separations. Spin the wheel so that 3 divisions are formed. Click the left mouse button. Here we are offered to choose the place of separation, but with the right mouse, I reset it to remain in the center. Now we can move these peaks here. We can also rotate them, and these too. We turn and move them. Why did I move them a little further? Now you will see everything. Next, these verticals, and we can use the bevel tool or hotkey Ctrl B. And we divide this place. Spin the mouse wheel to increase the number of divisions, thereby making the bend smooth. If the action is not finished yet, the right mouse button resets this action. I'll move it a little to the left. Ctrl B again, add divisions with the wheel, and confirm the action with the left mouse button. We do the same from below. With the Tab key, I exit Edit mode. Maybe I will rotate it a little to match the drawing. And add another winding on the handle. Shift A, Mesh Cylinder. Reduce with S. Scale Z. And expose it like this. Then copy, Shift D. We are making a slight turn. Shift D, turn around this way. Shift D, turn around this way. Shift D, turn around this way. Here you can reduce, because the handle is narrowing. So we have completed the blocking stage. Now we can continue more detailed modeling. Our handle and winding are ready for sculpting, so we can combine them and make remesh. Look, if I open the sidebar, all objects have a changed scale. We need to reset it. There is also a change of turn. To reset all this, we select all these objects except the blade. The blade is not ready yet. We will make it a little later. Select all these objects and press Ctrl A, which means apply, and choose what we want to apply. I'm going to choose rotation and scale, and we have the scale and rotation aligned. Now combine it all into one object, Ctrl J. Now we have one object called cylinder. Rename it to axe handle HP. HP means for high poly, because we will sculpt it and it will be very detailed. And the blade will need to be modeled in more detail, and then move on to sculpting. It also has a rotation change, so let's use Ctrl A, rotation and scale. And go to edit mode. To simulate two sides simultaneously, you must first cut the model in half. I press Ctrl R and move the cursor over this edge, so that the line goes in a circle in the center of the object. I click with the left mouse button and then release with right mouse, and we have a cut in the center. I turn on the top view with the numpad 7 key. Alt-Z, turn on transparency, and I select the vertices to the left of the center, pressing X verticals. Here I remove one half of the axe. To see where we have inside and where the outside, go to this menu and turn on face orientation. The inside will be red and the outside should be blue. Mine is white, I changed it in the settings. In the theme section, 3D viewport, face orientation front, and set alpha to 0. Close. And now to mirror, add the mirror modifier. On X, here we have the X-axis, red, and relative to it we have a reflection. You can also enable clipping. Without it, we can detach these vertices, and if we enable clipping, then the central vertices will not be able to move along X, and they will be glued to the center. In the side view, turn on transparency, Alt-Z, and edit our model. I will add another division here. Then Ctrl R here. And we adjust the tops so that a smooth contour is formed. I highlight the frame because we have two peaks here. We must take this into account. If you select one, the other will stay in place. That's why I highlighted with a frame. Now I'm making a section here, and then I have to turn it right away. I turn it, and I slide it to where the sharpening of the blade itself begins. Now divide here, slide here and set the vertices along the reference contour. Now let's make an extension so that the handle goes inside the blade. I'll take these tops, put them here. Let's make another separation here. Ctrl R, and here let's move it closer to handle. And select central vertices, G, X, and move them like this. We can move this as well. That's it. Now our handle fits inside the axe. These vertices can also be selected. I select one vertex, and with Ctrl I select the lower one, and it selects the intermediately vertices by the shortest path. I'm pulling back the G, X. Looks good. Here you can immediately sharpen. I select the top vertex, hold Ctrl, select the bottom vertex, and I move to the center of G, X. Now here will be the sharpening edge. Then we will sharpen it even more, but for now let it stay that way. Once again, on the side view, I check out reference. Adjust the vertices along the contour. Almost finished with the blade. We can add a subdivision surface modifier and set the number of divisions here. Or you can press Ctrl 3 and the subdivision surface modifier will be added automatically with level 3. But at the same time our model has smoothed out. Let's add some hard ribs to it. Go to Edit mode, switch to the edges or the number 2 on the keyboard. Open the side menu, the Item tab, and look, there is a crease parameter. Select this edge and Ctrl-click this edge. Now crank the mean crease to 1. Look, a sharp rib has formed here. You can also do it with central part, where the sharp edge should be. I choose the upper edge, with Ctrl the lower, and set mean crease. Then this edge, with Ctrl this. The entire chain is selected. Also grab this edge, set crease. Then here, crease. Then this one, with Ctrl select further, here. Also with Shift I will select these two edges and add crease. This corner has remained round, but we can fix it. Look, there is an edge here that has no crease. Let's add it. Add it the same here. How to center the camera? I press Alt and middle mouse button, and now the camera rotates around that point. If I press Alt and middle mouse button here, I will rotate around this point. We select this edge, crease. Everything is very good. Exit edit mode. And we can move on to sculpting.